Hey, I'm live. Alright, cool. So yeah, I'm taking some questions on the Xbox party and just getting some Q&A about the 3D printer, how much it costs, how to run it, all that kind of stuff. So figured I'd do a live stream. So basically this is it. This is the Creality CR10S4. There is an S5. It's got an even bigger print bed, but some people say it's unstable because you get too far out. So right now I'm actually 3D printing like a novelty sign from the Deadpool movie. Just 100% infill. Just trying to use up some filament here. You can tell the bed doesn't necessarily have to be level to like any specific standard. It just has to be level relative to that nozzle. So this side, it was a little bit too low over here. So like for right here, this little corner being just slightly too low. By the way, I 3D printed these knobs. So there and there, these fine-tune adjustment knobs. The actual screws, I don't know if you can see them, they're like the black circles just dead underneath. That's how you adjust the up and down on the print springs there that just kind of hold this bed in place. It's a heated bed too, so that helps it stick. So I'm getting asked, what's the heated bed for? So the heated bed, basically you want your print not to move while you're printing, right? So something makes this stick to the actual bed. Basically, I use hairspray on the glass, and then the heat underneath kind of makes it into like a glue, and it just holds like really, really strong. So this whole piece, it's not going to move. Like if I try to, let me see if I can do this without really ruining the print, but like it ain't going anywhere. Not unless I put some force on it, is this moving. And now I don't want to mess it up because it's currently printing and I want this print. But you could tell like this corner here just being slightly higher, you get weird buildups in material if you're not perfectly level. For the most part, this is perfectly level though. It's just these two opposing corners. This side here was a little bit too low. So it built up material as it was building. This whole thing filled in 100%. If you notice things like that, this printer does come with this little tool. It's just like a little pair of snips. You just come right in there, and let me see if I can get this on camera while it's moving. So you can make fine adjustments to prints kind of while they're going. Just remove a little bit of that excess material and just kind of give it a... It takes a lot of focus though, because the problem is it's moving as you're doing it. You don't want to jostle the print too much, but if that builds up too high on that corner, you just take this, cut it off a little bit, and it'll level set itself out. This other corner, I think it's slightly warped because, like I said, it's not perfectly level, but it's not too bad. So I'm pretty happy with this. But yeah, these fine leveling adjustment knobs make it way easier on each corner to print out. So this was one of my gray roll of filament experiments. And it just has numbers, and it's like you could do finer adjustments with the tiny screw. You're turning it, and it's moving a lot. And then this big one, you're just kind of give it more circumference. As for the filament, it prints things out basically like this. So like this is like one that got botched because I hooked it up to the computer and the computer actually turned off and hibernated. So I got it running a screensaver mode here, and basically that just turns off and halted mid-print. There was no way to recover it. So this little guy, you could tell the nozzle stopped right there on that circle because the heat buildup from the nozzle just kind of melted a bit, and it was already on top of that eyeball for the gecko. But yeah, that's the infill pattern. You could change that in this program called Cura, which is pretty cool. Basically that infill, this one I think was like 20% or 10%, something like that, but it's just enough to kind of give it some, you can't really bend it or get super easy. I mean, you could, if I like, really pushed on a leg, it'll snap off eventually, but it's, you can see the layering in it. And that just kind of helps all those little tiny layers to stack up on each other and bond. So you want a little something on the inside, but you don't necessarily have to have it be this like absolutely insane amount of material. This is an insane amount of material. This is just 100%. I'm going to make a solid, plastic piece essentially here. And I figured, what the heck, might as well use it up. I've got plenty of filament still on the roll. And this thing has been running for, let's see, to give you an idea of the speed, it's been running for, you can't really see it, let me see if I can do something with this focus. No, it's, anyway, whatever. Long story short, it's at 97 hours and 20 minutes, and it's only printed 8% of the actual thing. So I don't know if it's even going to get to making the letters on the sign before it has to build all this material up. But that's that. So that's a good question. So the question is, what happens if the filament runs out while this thing is printing? This guy in the back that the filament is running through is a sensor. So if it pulls the filament through and this breaks, or you can't really see too well from there. There you go. That's a much better angle on it. So this little sensor, if this filament here were to break or snap or run out, whatever, this will actually send a signal down this wire back to the control box in the back here, and it will tell this thing, you're out, halt the print, and it'll pause, allowing you to actually load a new roll on here, feed the new roll through that sensor, then you just hit resume on the box, and it will start intaking filament again. So the key is, though, when it gets to the extruder, which is these two little gears right here, it actually takes the, let me see if I can get this on a shot. So it takes the filament in through those two. And that is how it gets fed into this Bowden tube or Bowden tube. I've heard people say it a couple of ways. And then it comes down into the nozzle where it's melted and kind of shot out. But this is what controls that. So this here will actually feed the stuff in at a steady rate. So if you start getting globs or whatever, you might have issues with your extruder. If it starts slipping or anything like that, you get weird patterns in the print and stuff like that. But for the most part, this one is dead straight on, perfect lines, almost near perfect edges. So I'm not too upset with this. This is awesome. But like I said, I'm just trying to use up the rest of that roll. It probably won't even finish, but if it gets to the point where I could see some letters on it, I'd be happy. So hopefully it's getting there. I was honestly expecting it to be a lot further along at this point than 8%. So that was kind of a disappointment. The cool stuff, though, well, I could actually control the speed of the print on this thing, so I could actually ratchet this guy up to like 200% speed. The problem is, like, when you go above 100% on the speed, it's you get shaky prints, it's throwing the bed around a lot faster and stuff, and so like you don't get as much detail. The slower it is, the more detail you're going to get, hands down. No, I've never really gotten a decent result at like a higher speed. But like I said, like it depends on what you're doing with it. Now, one of the cool things too, like this filament, this is actually a PLA filament that glows in the dark. I'm trying to see if I can get it to be glow in the dark. It's not really that dark in here. Well, you know what? I might be able to make it dark in here. Just do that. So, nah, it's on now. Oh well. Anyway, long story short, if this charges up in the light, it glows green. So, kind of cool. Haven't used it yet. Planning to. I've got some other stuff too. I've got like I said, a few rolls of this PETG stuff, which is just stronger. The key is this printer takes the 1.75 millimeter filament. So for a kilogram of this, I think I paid like 15, maybe 20 bucks, something like that. And you could get cool specialty kinds on Amazon for not much money. And then the program to actually make all this stuff is Cura, which actually looks like this. So basically Cura processes a 3D file, which is what this is, and puts it together, and you can have different settings for things. So like your infill density or your material, whatever it is. Like, so if you want 50% infill, but you want the triangles in that one to look like lines or a grid or whatever else, you could change it up. Triangle's a good shape, but yeah, you could do stuff. And then you just adjust the size of the print bed. And so like this is ideally what it will come out to, but right now it's just doing this. So, you know, coming over from the virtual space, you've got it hooked up one way, right? And then it just kind of gets jammed out here over the course of a few days. But yeah, like if I turn down, for instance, like the layer height being 0.06 millimeters, like the layering height, it's essentially a very slow but very like high resolution pattern. So that's how that works. And then the SD card just gets slotted in on the side right here. Oh, this monitor? Yeah, it's a whack monitor, dude. That's an old, this is from like 2004. It's like a flat panel or whatever, flat screen. But yeah, it's all interesting. Anyway, I think I'm going to cut the stream there. But yeah, did the chat have any other questions? Cool. All right. Well, thanks for watching.